Hello and welcome back to another video, and as you can probably tell, or maybe not, there's a nice little tidied section here where there once was a pile of rubble, big rocks, scrap metal and just other stuff, using up a lot of valuable space here, which is now cleared and just makes the farm look and feel a whole lot bigger with all that stuff gone and that little bit of extra space now at our disposal. So we hired a digger for one day. Unfortunately I didn't get any footage of the digger work because at that very time we were only starting the slurry. So the brother and myself was at the slurry agitating while the old man was at the digger work. So the brother agitated that tank for the slurry first and then that one, but it took that full day to actually mix one tank and then space it out in the evenings when he came home from work, because we done all that dig work on a Saturday, on a weekend. So he got one tank mixed on that one day, and then when he went back to work, and then he could only mix it then in the evenings. So we were sort of sucking tanks of slurry out of the tank to make room to put tanks of water into it and then stir it up and mix it and get it all good and going. And then I had to go for an hour to do some raking for a man for silage that the brother bales then the next day. So I was busy at two jobs, the slurry and the agitating. The brother was obviously busy then at the slurry, and the old man was busy at the digger work, so I didn't get any footage of the digger work, unfortunately. But I just thought I'd show you a little bit around the farm, basically like a farm update, all the things we've done and tidied up jobs with that one day we got with the hired digger. So as you can see, there was just piles of big massive rocks within there. There was scrap metal in there. There was a ripper in there, and there was an old mobile within there as well. Just a lot of stuff within that pile there that was just using up a lot of space that we could have, it should have been done a long time ago, to be truly honest with you, because a lot of that stuff was just sitting there at wasting good valuable extra little piece of valuable extra land or room that we could be using for other stuff. Obviously there's no shade here to actually store stuff in a dry place, but you could maybe put some sort of like canopy roof tin up here. You could stick a girder at the edge of the wall here and another one at the other wall there, and stick then two girders out here and just have a small little tin roof sticking out like an open shed to store stuff within there if we really wanted to, which is not a bad shout now that we have all this extra bit of room that we managed to salvage from cleaning up that little corner. And also those pile of stones there was also sitting in the middle of the yard there, just is sort of in the way and not in the way, mostly in the way. And you just had to sort of maneuver around it, and it's just sort of annoying. So once we cleared up the piles of stones and rubble there, we moved the pile of stones, then tucked it in here, so sort of out of the way, tucked in its own little place, which is not too bad. But yeah, we also have this sort of cut out square of a wall that's for our power box to sit on, so when it's not being used or whatnot, it can be disconnected from the tractor and left on top of that. We always had that was located somewhere on an angle out here when all that rubble stuff was there, but that's still there in use to put the power box down on when we're not using it. So what did we do with the rubble that was in that pile there and the stones and whatnot that was not going to be used? We loaded that into a trailer and we brought it over the wood where we're trying to make a little sort of track to cut through the wood. So that's sort of put over into the wood, those big rocks and stuff, to make that. And the ripper, the mowbar and all that is stored right here. You can see an old manure spreader here. You have your ripper there and you have your mowbar there. So yeah, you might be wondering, well, a lot of that stuff is scrap. You could say the manure spreader is scrap and the mobile is scrap, and anything good on the manure spreader here could be taken off and stored in a shed, and the rest of it could be scrapped because it's technically no good. You are right about that, but I don't know what the plan is with this. And that's our ripper, so that basically puts a little slit or a little cut in the field, and that lets any water that's sitting on top of the ground or within the top layer of the ground, let that soak in further down below in the ground. So you have this, which makes a little slit in the ground, and then you have this, which makes the sort of open and wider after you make the little slit. So that's that. And we also have our old mobile, which it's not even ours. We got this years ago because we have a plan for this mobile, which is why it's not scrapped, because we have a plan for it. We do have a mobile of our own stored away in the shed, and we have used it before as well. And actually I'd like to use it again, maybe for like topping or something. It'd be cool to see. But the purpose of this mobile is we kept it because the plan was to turn it into a weed licker that you could put onto your tractor on your 3-point system. So you have your 2 lift arms and your top link and lift it up. So the plan was to get rid of the cutting bed or the mobile section here and put a pipe on it, and then put a carpet then around that pipe, put a tank on it somewhere, and then obviously put loads of nozzles on the roller, and then have your pipes and nozzles leading to all that, so that the PTO shaft, which has a lot of work to be done, would operate the speed of the roller, so how fast or slow you want that to spin. And then you'd have an electric pump and your tank, and that would pump the spray or the liquid from your tank through all your pipe work into your nozzles. And we do have a ground driven towing weed licker, which I'll actually show you now and explain maybe a bit more as well. So here it is. You have your tank there, you have your pump there, you have your pipe and your nozzles and whatnot on it. So it's ground driven, as in you have this belt which is connected to the wheel, which is then connected to this, which runs through to here. So the faster you drive or the slower you drive, so depending on how fast the wheel here is going, will determine how fast the roller is going. So that was that's the plan we have for our mobile transformation into a weed licker. But instead of it being ground driven, you have the PTO shaft determine how fast the roller is going. We'd make room then on it for a tank, maybe a smaller tank, maybe this one, and your electric pump, which will pump the liquid from the tank to all your pipes and then into the nozzles, which will spray the spray onto your carpet or your roller, and then you can weed lick rushes and whatnot away, no bother. Because we have used, this has been used quite a while, but it is starting to disintegrate. I don't know where the nozzles are located on this. They're somewhere on it, tucked under at the bottom there. There you go, you can see in that blue yoke there is a nozzle. So you just put a load of nozzles, you put your pipe, you put your carpet on, that's basically a carpet, that, and cable tied in place. Underneath that carpet is just a pipe. So we'd have a similar, or the exact same setup for this, as in a pipe, carpet wrapped around it, secured in place with cable ties or Tech 7 it on or something like that. Put it on to where the mobile is, the cutting bed on the mobile, and away in go. You can because obviously this is quite wide, you can't really be transporting that on the road. This is basically for weed licking areas on the fields surrounding the farm, but we cannot transport this too easily to fields further afield that we own, which is why we're trying to transform the mobile into a weed licker, because you can put that onto the back of the tractor, it folds up nice and tidily, you can transport it then on the road over and back, and you can weed lick away. It's just quite handy to have that. So that was the idea for the mobile, which is why it's not scrapped, because at some point, maybe during the winter this year or next year or whenever, we'll get that started. and it'll just be handy to have. So yeah, that's why the mobile wasn't scrapped, because we have that idea for it. We also tidied up the piles of stones here. Now obviously you can see 3 piles of stones here. You have this pile, you have the middle pile, and then you have the far pile over yonder. So these aren't actually piles of stones we got in the quarry. One year Mayo County Council came and was doing a big job on the main roads that we live on, where they took a layer of tarmac off, and I mean like a nice big layer of tarmac, because what they usually done during the past was just tarmac over the old layer, and it just kept rising and rising, and just a lot of people was giving off because the road was becoming higher than their driveway. So they stripped back a load of layer of tarmac on the road and then put fresh tarmac down, so that the road is level with people's driveways. And when they were doing our section or strip out there, we decided that we could be handy to have. So we piled them up here. But what we didn't think of is that the piles would sort of harden. They wouldn't be sort of loose. They're quite hard. Tar sort of dried in and hardened itself. So we still use that pile of stuff now and then. In fact, the stones that's on the ground over here, so the stones here, you can see the little specks of yellow, which is the yellow lines on the edge of the road, which marks, they marks the edge of the road. And you have your white paint there, which is your white paint in the center of the road. That stone came off them piles there. So we're hoping that just like the piles over there, that will dry in and sort of harden like on the road, and it's not like, it won't be like driving on loose stones. They won't start getting moving all around the place when you turn a wheel on a tractor or whatnot. It'll be like driving on some sort of form of a road, that this will all sort of dry in to itself, because it's basically mixed in with tar. So that's the plan for that. It mightn't happen, it mightn't dry in like the piles did back then, and it might. If it does, it'll give us a nice solid ground there. So, but we also tidied this section up. The piles were coming out quite far, as you can see, the edge line. The only reason we did tidy them up is that when it comes to the slurry, because we might have to go out onto the road, you can drive the tractor in here, and sort of that tank now will be gone. Drive up sort of here, and sort of then reverse to your slurry pits over at the shed there. Because otherwise, if we didn't tidy this up, the piles of stones were coming out quite a lot, and you only had a narrow area to try and swing your tractor and tanker around. But now we have a little bit of extra strip there to get your tractor and tanker reversed, turned around, and maneuver it up to your slurry pits up by the cattle shed, which is not too bad. So for a day's work with a hired digger, we got all that done, which is not too bad at all. And also, because some of them stones are hard, we had a digger for the day. These are the loosened sections that we managed to get with the digger, unlike this section, which is quite hard. As you can see, it's just tar. So yeah, if we wanted to use more stones, we could dig it up by hand, throw it into a power box or a wheelbarrow. You have your loosened stuff here, which over time might harden again like that, but it mightn't, because it's been sitting there a while. But anyways, what do you think of the tidied up on the farm? It's unfortunate now I didn't get any footage of the digger work, but as I mentioned, it's just the farming life. We basically hit 2 birds with the 1 stone that day, as in we were at the slurry, getting the slurry mixed and agitated and whatnot, and we were also hired the digger out that day to do a bit of farmyard tidying up. So 2 birds with the 1 stone, not too bad at all. But anyways, that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, Check out my merch, the links that will be down in the description, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Take care.